All right, welcome back, and you already know what time it is. We are here for the final recap for season 1 of Witch Hat Atelier. Today we're going to be recapping episode 13, the last one in this season, as I just said. And yeah, really great cliffhanger this time around. Definitely sad to see the show go, but hopefully we'll be back soon. But yeah, let's get into it because this was actually a really good, this was a solid adaptation, and honestly, the whole season's been a solid adaptation. But we're gonna get into that right now. So let's go. Okay, so the start of this episode is actually kind of funny considering all the trauma that will be inflicted later on, because it starts off with Tetsuya and Coco kind of zooming around outside the cave through the air while they're waiting for everyone to take the test with the sylph shoes, and Tetsuya's like, "Whoa, Coco, you're so fast! Like, whoa, this is so cool!" Because Coco has drawn her sylph shoes, and they are similar to Agat's, where she drew it in a way where she can go much faster than normal sylph shoes that we just typically draw. And Kifri kind of remarks about how fast she is, and she's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Oh, that's why I got flew into me so quickly." And the other funny thing that happens, Coco, upon hearing that I got flew into her, like she's like, "What did I do to Agat?" And she flies into the ground and absolutely eats it. Like it's not pretty. It's like, oh, like that's gonna hurt in the morning, because she's like, "Oh, what did I do to this girl that I believe hates me or doesn't like me very much?" And Kiefer's like, "No, it's fine," because like she's still using the shoe, so it means she likes her spell, and that makes Coco just so excited. Like she starts blushing and everything at the the prospect of Aga actually liking a spell that she drew. And Kiefer's trying to make it a teachable moment, like, yeah, your specialty is straight lines and everything, but Coco has already stopped listening at this point. She is not present in this world. You've complimented her, said that Aga likes the spell, so she's not there. And Tetsuya is kind of telling Kifri that she's like, yeah, she's gone. You should have told her that first, to be honest. But just at that point, kind of Elira's hat comes flying out of the cave, and Kifri catches it, and he's like, something's up, because if witches don't just like abandon their hats because it's very important, obviously. Like, I mean, we kind of see that with uh, in the previous episodes where Tarta especially was unable to get on a ferry to get back to the kind of like island sandbar where the witches live, because he didn't have his hat with him, and obviously he can't cast spells, so it's like, okay, you can't like prove it any other way. And so, a witch losing their hat is important. Like, that kind of denotes your status and denotes what you are. And he's like, okay, like something must be wrong. And we do have a slight alteration here because in the anime, they're kind of immediately attacked by the road in the form of like a snake golem thing. And in the manga, there's a moment where Kifri kind of like thinks that the brim hats are involved, accurately so, and then tries to tell Coco and Tetsuya when they're worried that it's okay, it'll be fine. I'm gonna call Rugio, he's gonna take you home, and then I'm gonna go see what's up in there. The end result, however, is the same because they get knocked off the road. Essentially, they get knocked into the cave, and they fall however far in the darkness. And Kifri gets wounded, shielding Agat and not Agat, Coco and Tetsuya by from rocks that are falling from the road, and gets hit in the back like really hard, like real bad. So they basically just fall. I would presume like a couple hundred feet, I don't know, into darkness. And Brush Buddy is there too. And I just have to say, Brush Buddy is having such an interesting life at this point. When you really think about it, because I mean, you got the Brush Buddy side story hasn't been animated, obviously, but essentially grew up normal in a normal Brush Buddy family, and now he's dealing with acts of violence on a weekly basis, which is kind of crazy. But that happens, and we then cut to Agat, Tetsuya. Not, oh my gosh, I'm mixing up names today, guys. Agat, Uni, and Rish all kind of like trying to run away and get away from Sassuron, because they're like, oh my gosh, like he just swallowed up Lyra, so like we have to go, we have to get somewhere else away from here. And Uni does a great job, makes use of his altered cloak to like shield all of them and like hide in the shadows essentially. Which is great. However, because his cloak is altered and he's now inside of it, and all the Murphins are in there as well, Rish and Agat still look like Murphins to the Murphins, but the Murphins see they see Uni as Uni, like just a regular human, and starts making noise like, "What's going? Like, who are you? Like, what? Where's the one who was leading me through this?" He starts making noise, and they kind of like quiet it down. But at that point, Sassuron kind of starts taunting them, like it's kind of saying like, "Oh, like it's really impressive that you like hid in like the dark, but like only like cowards, sinners, and hunters hide in the dark. So like which one are you? Because like you're not the hunter, because I'm the hunter." And then kind of starts trying to like use wind to pull Uni closer to him, or them. I actually don't know, or I feel like I don't remember Sassuron's gender identity, or if that's been disclosed at any point. They are a flying cloak, so it's a bit hard to nail down. I'm not gonna lie, but essentially the wind is pulling Uni closer to them, and Rishi uses one of her spells to help him break away by like creating dust, and she does like the cute little like eye like thing. Um, and I kind of like remembers that Elira earlier was able to like freeze the ground and negate the spell that keeps them on the road or that would knock them off the road if they stepped in the wrong spot. By essentially just freezing over it entirely. So she does that, just freezes over the entire road. And this is I love this is another thing I love about Agat. She is just so resourceful and just really great at putting things together. So she's able to like analyze, see what happened, and then she has enough skill to actually like replicate that spell and do it herself or do some form of it. So she does this as Rish kind of like makes a spell out of her kind of like clay magic that she was using. And Agat uses her really highly powered soul shoes to push them off and just start zooming down this road. And I really like the scene of them going down the road. I don't know, it's just really satisfying to watch. But Uni is funny because he asks Aga, he's like, "Why are your shoes so fast? Like this doesn't make any sense." And Aga's like, I don't want to talk about it because obviously they're fast because of Coco, and she's not good. She doesn't want to admit that, but she knows why. And they're all kind of working in concert. So like Uni kind of like freezes the ground ahead of them again to like make sure that they don't run out of ice to like sled on. And kind of like asks Reach to assist, but Reach is a bit paralyzed with like fear at this point, or just like with not knowing what to do because Reach. And here's the drawback we have not seen up to this point is that Reach only knows the spells that she likes, so she does not actually have that many spells in her repertoire to actually help in this situation. She's less adaptable. Like yeah, her spells work in a lot of different situations, but things that are like basics that you need to like learn from other things or like from books, she doesn't really know those. So she's just having a moment. She's like, oh god, like I cannot help in this moment. And Uni gives her some of his spells that he prepped ahead of time. He's like, yeah, I know it was like pathetic to like prep these ahead of time, but like we have them now, and I'm gonna let you like hold this, and like hopefully they can like help you. And it's such a sweet moment where like she's like staring at him and just like because in the manga she also kind of stares at him, but like also the anime added this scene where she clutches the spells kind of like closer to her chest a little bit, and I'm like, oh, you two are so cute. Like it's actually adorable, even though you are on the run from a insane witch at this point. And Aga kind of like wonders why this keeps happening to them. He's like, why does it keep happening to us? They're like, why does it have to be us? And then realizes that Tetsuya asked the same question, and then again using her big brain realizes that this is all kind of like because the Brim Hats are trying to get at Coco in some way, shape, or form. So she lets go of the sled, lets it slide a little further, and she stops and she turns around to like yell, "Hey, like the outsider already had her memory erased. She's not here anymore. Like you can leave us alone. Like that's not even a thing anymore. Like, she's gone. If you want her, that's not happening." However, this doesn't fool Sazaran for one bit because, listen, Sazaran's like, pointed hats lie. Okay, like you're an apprentice for liars, and that was a really well told lie. However, I'm not falling for it. And kind of like he starts telling them like how he kind of like pities them a little bit, or they pity them a little bit. And that pointed hats are just kind of like afraid of their true potential with magic, in the sense that like magic can make you can do anything with magic realistically, like you can do a lot of stuff, and then kind of like lists off different things that resonate with each of them. Like for example, for Aga, he's like, you could grow up and you could be a grown up immediately. For Uni, it's like you could actually be confident. For Reach, you could stay a child forever if you wanted to. So just telling them all these things to kind of like get in their head of like, forbidden magic's not so bad. Like you can make the world whatever you want it to be. Like you could really, if you didn't play inside the rules, you could make yourself happy. Kind of like trying to play on that malleability that children have. And then it's like, yeah, we're gonna make like our whole thing is to like make sure the world knows what hats witches should really be wearing, in the sense of like a brim cap is what they should be wearing. And so at this point it's just like, yeah, I mean, you're gonna make a worthy sacrifice. Basically telling Aga that she's gonna make a worthy sacrifice to getting Coco to pursue forbidden magic, because it's like, okay, if we put you in danger and then we dangle the salvation of forbidden magic in front of her face, what do you think she's gonna do? And then begins to draw a seal on Agat's arm. Actually, kind of like struggles to like get away from this, because at this point it's very clear that like a seal inscribed on yourself is against the pact, so that is a crime. However, the thing the anime doesn't really mention, or I don't recall it mentioning, is that even if that's done against your will, it is still a crime, and that is something that's mentioned in the manga. So it doesn't matter if if you were pinned down and someone scribed a seal on you and now you got a spell on your body, that's still a crime. You're gonna get your memory erased and all that jazz. So she's really scared of like losing everything that she's built up, that she's like been fighting for. But Reach and Uni are able to save her by essentially like blowing up the bridge from underneath, and then Reach kind of like pulls her through the air with something else. However, they do realize that Sassuron has been floating / flying this entire time, so blowing up the bridge under them and causing them to fall, not the best plan, because they're not gonna fall, they can just fly. And so, you know, and it's so sad. Like reliving this moment really hurt, because Uni is having a moment under the bridge because he went underneath it to blow it up. He's having a moment where he's just finally feeling confident, finally feeling worthy of himself, finally being like, oh my gosh, like I can tell my master, like I can be something. And then Sassuron shows up and is like, yeah, I was content to like let you just kind of like hide away, but at this point, like I can't really do that. And then tells Uni that they're going to give him a form that he will really truly wish to hide, which unsettling. At this point, the girls are realizing that they're in danger, and they're like, "Oh my gosh! Like we have to get Uni and get out of here." So they're calling out for him. They can't really find him until they look across like the gap that is in the road, and they see Uni kind of like crawling out of the darkness, transforming into a scale wolf. And it's just so hard to like. He's one of my favorite characters, so it is really hard to see him transform like this, and slowly like lose himself as he becomes an animal essentially. But it was beautifully animated. I loved it. Like it looked great. I loved the way that like the darkness and sketch like style was kind of like flowing around him. It was really great. Unsettling again. I got chills there. But this happens, and he runs off after that. Like runs off into the dark basically. And this is one of those moments where Sassuron's like, wow, I didn't realize it was gonna happen. Like like it was interesting that the spell incorporated the cloak that has scale wolf scales on it and is made of scale wolf. The spell incorporated that into the form that he turned into. That's really interesting. Forbidden magic, we don't know what it does. We just have to try things out and see what happens. And Rish gets so angry, and I'm proud of my girl for this. But like, this is like, you can the palpable anger on her face. She's just looking. She's like, turn him back. Like that's like, you can't do this. Like you have to turn him back. And Sassuron's like, yeah, I mean, you're welcome to try and do it yourself. I'm not gonna do that though. And then they just vanish into thin air, because what else would they do, right? So that kind of happens. Reese is pissed off, but also really wants to save Uni, so she's trying to head off to like save Uni, and Aga grabs her arm. She's like, "You can't stop me. Like I don't want to do things I don't want to do, and I don't want to leave a friend behind, like this." And Aga's like, "I get that, but like we do have a duty to get these merchants to the end of the cave." Which might sound silly, but these are animals that like literally were separated from their flock for the purpose of this test, so they really do have to get these guys to like the end of this cave. Like there's no way around that. And at that point, Aga decides, okay, we're gonna split up. I'll go after you. You take the merchants to the end of the cave. And Reese tries to protest, but Aga's like, no, like you don't know enough spells. I know more spells. You're not adaptable enough, essentially. And I know that sounds really harsh, but like, as you are right now, you cannot help Uni at all. And that really hurts. That really hurts Reach a lot, because like she has effectively made a friend on this test essentially, and is realizing that because of the way she is, or the way she has been up to this point, she cannot help that friend. And it's just a really like really sobering moment for her, as Aga kind of like runs off again into the dark to try and go save Uni, and Reach is staying on the other side of the road that's been broken, like staring off. But then she turns around a little bit, and she's standing alone by herself in this cave in the middle of like a sunbeam that's kind of like breaking through the roof. I presume, yeah, breaking through the roof, I guess. And it has no choice essentially at this point to just watch as Agat runs off to save Uni, and she is left to do nothing essentially. Which sad way to end the season for her, because she's like, man, I'm in a terrible spot. But then we go however many feet, meters, whatever unit you want to use below the road. We have a scene of Brush Buddy waking up after being planted in the dirt from falling. Which, another thing, how did Brush I'm trying to think, how would Brush Buddy have survived? I don't know. Maybe Kifri shielded Brush Buddy as well sometimes, but like, yeah, Brush Buddy survived. And the scene of Brush Buddy nudging Coco, slapping Coco in the face to try and wake her up before she wakes up, and then she's like, oh my gosh, like, where are we? We go see at the bottom of the cave. and she looks over at Kifri, and Kifri is heavily wounded, bleeding, glasses broken, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like this is terrible." And she tries to like reach out to him to like kind of get his glasses, and he snaps awake and like grabs her arm and stops like her from reaching out at him. And I love listen. This adaptation has done such a great job of animating Kifri's like little off expressions that he has, where it's like he's not like your kind, joyous teacher, where it's like this man might do something questionable, in the sense that like you're getting a little too close to something you shouldn't get too close to, and I really love it when they do that. It's been really great seeing how they've done that. I think. But yeah, gives her this really frightening stare, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I just your glasses are broken. You're bleeding. Like, blah, blah, blah." And Tetsuya is like waking up at this point too, and Kifri tells both of them to be quiet, because something is approaching. And the thing I love about this scene is it's very ominous, because you see like this kind of like gold coming in from the edges, like these gold forms coming in from the edges, the dark edges of the screen, and it's revealed to be the people of Ramadan who were turned into statues. And it turns out they hate witches and magic, because obviously if you were turned into a golden statue and left to live at the bottom of a cave for however many centuries, you too would hate these people, without any sort of like discernment as to what did that to you. So yeah, they're like, we don't like that at all. And Kiefer is essentially heavily wounded at this point. His cloak is damaged, so he can't hide. He looks exactly like he does. And like he basically stands in front of Coco and Tetsuya to protect them, from the people of Ramadan. And my favorite part about this ending scene is that like you've got Kiefer standing back turned to the girls, and as the final seconds of season 1 are playing, it almost transitions into like the sketch manga style like of the series at the end, where it looks very much like a manga panel, and it looks so great seeing him like standing there, like the cloak flowing and everything. And I got, again, second moment in this episode where I got big chills. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a great adaptation. And it's just like I feel like it was almost a way to show appreciation for the original work and show appreciation for the manga itself by like doing that. And I really loved seeing that. It was really great. And I thought it was a really great way to end the episode. Cliffhanger. I loved that it ended there. That's the end of volume 4, by the way. So in this episode, it's chapters 22 and 23. So yeah, that was the end of season 1 of Witch Hat Atelier, which was really great. Okay, really quick, I do want to give some short thoughts on my final thoughts on the season as a whole and my thoughts on the adaptation so far. And I just want to say again, I said it before, I will say it again, Bug Films, you did your big one with this one. You did such a great job. I have enjoyed the contributions of the staff throughout this entire season, helping to bring a series that I have loved for a few years now to life, and bring it off the page and into anime format in a way that works really well. Because admittedly, I was nervous going into this. I was very nervous to see how this would be adapted, if it would still kind of like be able to get the same emotions out of me, but also like have an artistry and quality that I thought fit the manga, and it does. It's really great. Adaptation wise, very minor cuts and alterations, which is also really great. So it's like if you watch the anime, you can essentially like pick up right where the anime leaves off and just keep reading the manga if you want, until season 2 comes out, which I do recommend doing, because here's the thing, as good as this season is, as like solid as it is, a lot of the really great character moments happen after this. So I recommend reading it if you haven't already. But again, really solid adaptation, solid animation. The soundtrack, amazing. I love listening to the soundtrack every week. I like cannot wait for them to drop it on Spotify or something, so that I can like listen to these tracks over and over and over again, like I do with the Freeman soundtrack. Because it was just, yeah, it just helps elevate the experience. So again, very great adaptation, and I love watching each and every episode, and I'm probably going to rewatch them all again probably very soon, because quite frankly, I don't think that I can just sit for however many months or years waiting for another season. So I mean, I will, yeah, I'll definitely rewatch it. But yeah, great adaptation, loved it, amazing. Definitely one of my favorite shows that aired in the spring season for sure, and so far this year. So yeah. Okay, and so that brings the anime recap for Witch Hat Atelier episode 13 to a close, and also the close of the anime episode recaps for season 1 of Witch Hat Atelier. So thank you guys for watching these videos. Some of them have got more views than others as like episodes are more popular, but I have noticed that a lot of people really like these videos. So yeah, thanks for tapping in with me for this. And maybe next season I'll pick something else. There's a lot of really good stuff in the summer season as well, that I'm eyeing up. So we shall see what I end up doing recaps for, as I try and transition more into doing YouTube stuff. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you so please. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.